Armin woke up before sunrise as always, his tiny apartment still cloaked in the quiet of dawn. The alarm buzzed faintly beside him, but he was already awake, watching his daughter Hania sleep. Her little face, half buried in the blanket, reminded him of everything he lived for. She murmured softly in her sleep, clutching her worn-out teddy bear, the only toy she had left since her mother passed away. Armin brushed a tear from his eye, forcing a smile as he whispered, "Daddy will make it better, princess. I promise." He got dressed in his neatly ironed uniform, the same gray shirt he had worn for 3 years at the automobile company. It wasn't much, but it was honest work, fixing engines, maintaining records, keeping things running. The factory was his second home. His colleagues respected him, not because he was loud or confident, but because he was steady and kind. Armin was the kind of man who never said no to overtime, who helped others finish their work before his own. That morning, he packed Hania's school lunch with 2 slices of bread and a little jam, all that was left in the fridge. As he tied her hair into 2 neat ponytails, she looked up at him and smiled. "Will you come pick me up today, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes shining with hope. He nodded, even though he knew he might have to stay late again. "Always, sweetheart," he said. The sky was gray when he arrived at the company. There was an unusual silence in the air, whispers floating through the hallways. Rumors had been spreading that a new CEO was taking over, someone known for being ruthless. Her name was Ava Raymond, and everyone said she had turned her last company into a profit machine by firing half the staff. Armin didn't pay much attention. He was just grateful to have a job. By noon, he was called into the HR office. His stomach tightened as he saw Ava standing there, sharp suit, expression unreadable, her voice calm but cold. "Mr. Armin Malik," she said, looking briefly at his file. "You've been with the company for 3 years. Good record, but unfortunately, your department is being downsized. Effective immediately." He blinked, trying to process the words. "Ma'am, please," he said softly, I have a daughter. I just need some time. I can work extra shifts, move to another section," but she didn't even lift her eyes. "The decision is final. Security will help you clear your desk." His throat went dry. For a moment, he just stood there, the room spinning around him. Then he gathered his things, a few tools, a framed photo of Hania, and his ID card. He walked out without a word, his coworkers avoiding his eyes. Outside, rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder, soaking his thin shirt as he walked home. That night, Hania greeted him at the door with a hug, waving a drawing she had made at school. "Look, Daddy, it's us with Mommy in the sky," she said proudly. Armin smiled weakly, kneeling down to hold her tight. She didn't need to know that he had just lost everything. As they ate dinner, a bowl of rice and a small piece of bread shared between them, he watched her smile, pretending not to notice when she offered him the last bite. Days passed, and the money began to run out. Armin searched everywhere for work, walking from shop to shop, his worn-out shoes splashing through puddles. "We'll be fine," he told Hania every night, though he knew it was getting harder. He began skipping meals so she could eat. One evening, Hania woke up thirsty and saw her father sitting by the table, staring at the last slice of bread. He hesitated, then pushed it away, pretending to yawn. Her little heart ached. She understood more than he realized. The next morning, when Armin was out looking for jobs again, Hania quietly rolled her pink bicycle out of the corner. She wiped the dust off it and taped a small cardboard sign to the front. "Bike for sale. Daddy needs money for food." She took it to the nearby park and stood under the sunlight, her small hands clutching the handlebars. People passed by, some smiling kindly, others just staring. But she stood there bravely, her stomach rumbling, her heart strong. Somewhere in her innocent mind, she believed she could help her father, and maybe, just maybe, make him smile again. The sun was dipping low when a sleek black car pulled up beside the park. Dust swirled softly as the car came to a stop, and from behind the tinted window stepped Ava Raymond, the very woman who had ended Armin's job just weeks ago. She was dressed immaculately as always, heels clicking against the pavement, her phone pressed to her ear. She was discussing numbers, deadlines, profit margins, until her voice faltered. Across the park, she noticed a small girl standing beside a pink bicycle with a cardboard sign taped to it. Something about that sight made her pause. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. Her ponytails were slightly uneven, and her shoes looked worn. But her smile, that brave, innocent smile, was what caught Ava's attention. Ava ended her call and walked closer, curious. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said gently. "Why are you selling your bike?" The girl looked up, blinking under the sunlight. "Because my daddy doesn't have work," she said softly. "He says everything will be fine, but we don't have much food now. So I thought, if I sell my bike, I can buy bread and milk." Ava's breath caught. The honesty in that little voice pierced straight through her guarded heart. She knelt down, brushing her hand over the cardboard sign. The words were scrawled in a child's handwriting, shaky, uneven, but full of meaning. "What's your name?" Ava asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Hania," the girl replied. "And your daddy?" "His name is Armin Malik," she said proudly, as if her father were the bravest man in the world. Ava froze. That name hit her like a bolt of lightning. She felt her chest tighten, her throat go dry. Armin, the same man she had fired without a thought, the one who had pleaded for a chance. She remembered his quiet eyes, his voice filled with desperation. Guilt washed over her. She looked at the little girl again, realizing this was the face of the consequence she had never considered. Trying to hide her shock, Ava asked softly, "And where is your daddy now?" "He's looking for work," Hania said. "He doesn't know I'm here. I just want to help him." Ava felt something inside her break, something she hadn't felt in years. She took a deep breath and reached into her purse, pulling out some cash. "I'll buy your bike," she said. Hania smiled wide, her eyes lighting up. "Really?" "Yes," Ava said quietly. "But you have to promise me one thing. Don't stop believing that things will get better." Ava handed the money over, but she didn't take the bike. She couldn't. It felt wrong. She told her driver to bring the car around, her mind spinning. That night, as she sat in her apartment overlooking the city skyline, she couldn't shake the image of that little girl, the trembling hands, the cardboard sign, the hope in her eyes. For the first time in years, Ava felt something she had long buried, remorse. The next morning, she arrived at work early, her mind made up. She called her assistant into the office. "Find me everything you can on a man named Armin Malik," she ordered. The assistant hesitated but obeyed. By afternoon, Ava had his address in her hand. She drove herself there, nervous in a way she couldn't explain. The neighborhood was small and quiet, with cracked sidewalks and faded paint on the walls. When Armin opened the door, his expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "Ms. Raymond," he said, stunned. "What are you doing here?" She hesitated, holding her handbag tightly. "I came to see you," she said. "I saw your daughter yesterday." Armin's eyes widened in alarm. "Hania, is she okay?" "She's fine," Ava reassured quickly. She was selling her bicycle. Her voice broke at the end, the guilt too heavy to hide. Armin looked down, his shoulders slumping. "She just wants to help," he said quietly. "I didn't even know she did that." For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was thick, filled with unspoken emotions, shame, pain, regret. Finally, Ava stepped forward and handed him an envelope. "I made a mistake, Armin. You were one of my best employees. I shouldn't have let you go." He opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a reinstatement letter, a raise, and a small note written in her handwriting. "Everyone deserves a second chance." He looked up at her, speechless. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. Ava swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because your daughter reminded me what humanity looks like." Her eyes glistened with tears she didn't try to hide. "I've spent years chasing success, Armin. But yesterday, a little girl showed me what real failure is, forgetting compassion." Armin's eyes softened. "Thank you," he said simply, the words carrying more weight than she could bear. As Ava turned to leave, she looked back one last time at the man she had wronged and the home that had suffered because of her choices. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like a CEO. She felt like a human being. The morning light streamed softly through the company windows as Armin walked back into the place he once thought he'd never see again. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the collar of his freshly ironed shirt. Every step he took toward his old workstation felt like reclaiming a piece of his lost dignity. His coworkers looked up in surprise. Whispers spread quickly that he had been rehired by the CEO herself. Some smiled, others were confused, but no one dared to question it. Armin just smiled politely, though inside, his heart was full of emotions he couldn't put into words. In her glass office above, Ava watched him from behind the blinds. There was a strange warmth in her chest, something that felt like peace. For the first time in years, she didn't start her day by reading profit reports or firing off emails. She started it by observing the quiet gratitude in a man she had once wronged. Something inside her had shifted since that day at the park. The world she had built, sharp suits, high-rise offices, endless meetings, suddenly seemed cold compared to the light in a child's eyes. At lunchtime, Armin called Hania from his new office phone. "Guess what, my brave girl," he said, unable to hide his joy. "Daddy got his job back." On the other end of the line, Hania squealed in delight. "Really? Does that mean we can have pizza tonight?" Armin laughed for the first time in weeks. "Yes, sweetheart, pizza and ice cream." He hung up, smiling wider than he had in years. But he didn't know that Ava was standing near his desk, overhearing the conversation. When he turned, she smiled softly. "She sounds like an amazing little girl." Armin nodded, his eyes bright. "She's my whole world." Ava hesitated for a moment, then said, "I'd like to meet her properly sometime, not just as her dad's boss." Armin smiled kindly. She'd love that. Later that week, he invited Ava to a small community fair near his neighborhood. When she arrived, dressed simply in jeans and a light sweater instead of her usual suit, she looked almost unrecognizable. Hania ran up to her, grinning, her eyes full of excitement. "You're the nice lady who bought my bike." Ava knelt down, laughing gently. "Yes, but I think I owe you something." She handed Hania a box wrapped in pink paper. Inside was a brand new bicycle, bright, shiny, and beautiful. "I can't take this," Hania gasped, her eyes wide. Ava smiled. "You can. Because you already gave me something. You gave me a heart." For a moment, the three of them stood together in the soft glow of evening lights. Armin looked at Ava, realizing how much she had changed. She wasn't the cold, distant CEO anymore. She was simply a woman who had rediscovered her conscience. As the fair music played and laughter filled the air, Hania rode her new bicycle in circles, giggling as her father clapped for her. Ava stood beside him, smiling quietly. "I used to think success meant being feared," she said softly. "But that little girl taught me that being loved is much harder, and much more powerful." Months passed, and Armin's life slowly rebuilt itself. He became a respected manager at the company, known for his kindness and hard work. The workers admired him, and they admired Ava too, who now ran the company with a warmth no one had ever seen before. She introduced new programs to help struggling families, ensuring that no one would ever face what Armin had faced. She called it the Pink Bike Project. Every month, the company donated bicycles and food packs to children of unemployed parents, all in honor of one little girl's act of love. On the anniversary of Armin's return, Ava visited his office with Hania by her side. The little girl had grown taller, her smile brighter than ever. "I told Daddy you're not scary anymore," Hania said with a grin. Ava laughed softly. "I guess you were right, sweetheart." Armin looked at the two of them and felt something shift in his heart, a deep, unspoken bond that had formed from pain, guilt, and redemption. That evening, as the sun set behind the city skyline, the three of them stood together on the company rooftop. Hania leaned on the railing, watching the lights below. "Daddy," she said, "we're happy now, right?" Armin nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes, my love, we're finally happy." Ava looked at them, her eyes glistening. "You both saved me too," she whispered. The wind carried their laughter into the twilight, a sound softer than forgiveness, stronger than regret. The man who once lost everything had found hope again, and the woman who once lived behind glass walls had finally found her heart. And somewhere deep inside, Ava knew that sometimes the smallest souls, like a hungry little girl with a cardboard sign, could change the course of a lifetime.